Here's a demo of the dual preset scroller firmware for the Stryde MIDI controller. This time around, I've taken the original preset scrolling concept for Stryde and expanded on it so that I can load presets on two independent MIDI channels. Stryde is currently on Kickstarter. You'll find a link in the description. When Stryde gets released, this alternate firmware will be available alongside all other firmware that I've created, including the source code. I've loaded the new firmware from my computer over USB, and when I boot up, the intro shows Stryde Dual Scroller. I've relabeled the foot switches 1 and 2. The right scrolls the first MIDI channel and the left one the second. In this example, I'm using only one of Stryde's MIDI outputs, with the daisy chain MIDI signal between the other pedals. That's to dispel the assumption that foot switch 1 and 2 send signals only on MIDI out 1 and 2 respectively. In fact, the MIDI command sent by either foot switch can go to both MIDI outs, and it's just a question of whether there's a device on those paths that correspond to the MIDI channel being used. So I've set foot switch 1 to scroll presets on the Mobius, and foot switch 2 to scroll presets on the programmable EQ. As you saw, the LED uses the rightmost and the leftmost characters to indicate the preset being sent by the closest foot switch. I can scroll up to a maximum of 20 presets on each channel. The dot will illuminate to indicate presets 10 through 19, so this is preset 11. Seek mode is activated by holding down the foot switch. The LED will flash to indicate this, and the preset will only load when I press the same foot switch again while it's flashing. The two foot switches, they're related displays, and the modes are completely independent from one another. I can have any combination of seek and scrolling happening at once. The configuration choices are a smaller subset of those available in the original firmware. The first set of choices pertain to foot switch 1, and the same choices are repeated for foot switch 2. I can tell if I'm setting values for foot switch 1 or 2 by the presence of this illuminated dot. When it's illuminated, that's foot switch 2. Item C sets the MIDI channel used to send preset commands. The top line sets the upper scroll limit feature. In the example I've been using, the EQ has this value set to 3, so it won't scroll past that and will just cycle back to the beginning. The bottom line sets the lower scroll limit feature. N is for the numbering index. This sets whether the readout for that foot switch uses 0-based or 1-based numbering. I have it set to 1 for the EQ and 0 for the Mobius. And then the last three choices are global settings. O is the MIDI out configuration. By default, the commands are configured to be sent to both outputs, but I can set that to send to only MIDI output 1 or MIDI output 2. T is the MIDI through configuration. I can configure any MIDI being received at the Stryde's input to be sent back through both outputs, no outputs, output 1 only, and output 2 only. D is the display brightness. I've kept this video short, but have a look at the first Stryde video I posted if you have any more questions about the configuration choices, as it goes into far more detail. The features in this firmware relate very closely to the original. And be sure to visit the Kickstarter campaign. I've been posting frequent updates there, and if you follow along, you can see the work I continue to put into this platform. Thank you for your support.